And we're recording. Hey guys, what is up? This is Josh, founder and CEO of GenFX, and back with another video. So today, what we're gonna do is some chart analysis, and we're gonna talk a little bit on a few topics, such as why a lot of traders fail in forex trading, and the difference between retail trading and institutional trading. All right. So getting started, let's go over these pairs. Alright, so as you can see, most of these currency pairs, there's been a lot of downside, a lot of breaking down on these levels. Alright, mainly because we had some USD news, FOC. Let's just go back to last week. Let's go back to last week, Sunday to Friday. Alright. Yes, as you can see, we had a lot of news on the Wednesday itself on the USD pair, a lot of important news such as the Fed interest rate decision, which you can see was kept the same, FOMC economic projections, Fed monetary policy statement, and FOMC press conference. Alright, and these right here, what the FOMC economic projections are, as I say, this report released by the Federal Reserve includes the FOMC's projection for inflation and economic growth over the next 2 years, and more importantly, a breakdown of individual FOMC members' interest rate forecasts. Alright, so this is basically what each person on that board basically thinks the forecast for the upcoming years into 2023. What are their projections? Alright, whether inflation is going to continue rising until then to provide for the economy, and if they're going to start tapering and whatnot in order to curb that inflation imbalance once it does happen. Alright, so because of those news events, and we also had Fed monetary policy statement. Alright, this is basically the same thing. Fed rate decision, FOMC releases its statement regarding monetary policy, and that statement may influence the volatility of USD and determine a short-term positive or negative trend. A hawkish view is considered as positive or bullish for the USD, and dovish is vice versa, which is negative or bearish. So as you can see, on a lot of these USD cross pairs, we had a lot of strength for the USD, so obviously we were hawkish on that news event, right? There's a lot more upside for the US dollar, a lot more room for it to gain some strength to continue moving on. Now, even though that they say that this is a short-term sort of lasting trend, that may not be the case actually, because with those good projections, especially something positive for the US economy, which we have been recently dovish on, we could potentially see a continuation with this USD strength. Alright, so looking at all these cross pairs, we can see just how strong the USD was from Wednesday 16th. Alright, I love these. Yeah, Wednesday 16th itself, we had that bullishness on those USD cross pairs. Alright, so yeah, let's just start going over the chart analysis. So I have two main charts, which is my watch list. I look at a number of currency pairs here, and then a focus pairs list. But for the sake of just getting an overall better view of everything, let's go with the watch list itself. Alright, so let's start with AD card. So I can see with AD card, actually we had a lot more bearishness on the recent times, right? From around February 1st, yeah, we came to this high on the daily. This is daily chart we're looking at right now, and from then we've just been heading downwards, and right around this area where we currently are, as you can see, price was within a sort of range right there. Let me just delete this. Right, price was in a sort of range, and then we had a break below here, and we have some resistance right at this level here. Alright, so while we have resistance, as we can see, we had multiple wick rejections right from within this level. Alright, and going down to the 1 hour, you can see this more clearer. So with with AED card, what I'll be looking for is a continuation of that bearish trend and probably a break of this area to look for any potential trade setups, right? Because we have been overall bearish on this, really. And looking over to the side here, this is an important zone for, you know, where price has came into the most recent lows that it has ever made, especially for the starting of this year, right? This year thus far, this is the lowest point price has made, so it's significant in terms of that being an area to possibly see price push past against, right? So something like this and maybe a retest, then we'll actually look to actually go for sell setups on this particular pair. All right, 80 CHF. So I'll just mark this. A lot of these pairs that have potential trades to play out, I mark them as blue. All right, 80 CHF. So we can see price came into a sort of a support area right here on the daily chart within this uptrend. All right, so we could potentially see price pushing from this area to continue on this daily uptrend. But again, daily takes very long, right? Each candle represents a day. We don't have that kind of time, a lot of us trading forex, right? So if we're looking at recent times, if we could possibly see a push past this area here, that will give a better indication for possible buy setups. You go to the 1 hour, you can see this a lot more clear, right? So this is a sort of a zone right here. So if price finds some support and actually pushes up out of it, we could potentially see some upside to continue going upwards with this particular pair, right? ADCHF. Now the reason why I'm not going to mark this at this point is because it kind of goes against the 80 card outlook that we have for it, in terms of looking to see price go lower with this overall bearish trend. So we'll have to wait and see, right? If price could actually pass through this area and continue moving upwards, that would be great. If we find some support. 80 JPY, this is one of the pairs that had that bearish run, and that because we had some JPY news as well, monetary policy statement and interest rate decisions, right? As you see, they kept the interest rate the same, so they aren't hiking their prices, anything like that. But I think that goes over the overall optimism that was in the market at that point of time. And then we had some statement that was made actually by the monetary policy board. Let's see here, this is 617. All right, so if we take a quick overview of what we can see here, right, so the extension of a special program to support financing in response to novel coronavirus. So there was an extension to support the economy, right? The bank decided by an 8-0 majority vote with one abstention to extend the duration of the special program to support financing in response to novel coronavirus. All right, so this would be considered sort of a bullish statement, right? Because they came to the conclusion that, okay, given the current situation, they would still support the economy and the overall growth for the economy, even though Japan itself has been doing a lot better from the starting of the coronavirus to now. As you see here, the bank will apply a negative interest rate of minus 0.1% to the policy rate balances in current accounts held by financial institutes at the bank. Majority of the vote for short-term interest rate policies. So they will be able to keep assets the same and support the overall growth of the economy in the coming times. Alright, has picked up as a trend, although it remained in a severe situation due to the impact of COVID-19 at home and abroad. So yeah, overall we could see, even though things were looking kind of grim for the Japanese economy, there's still some overall optimism within all of this news. All right. So that being said, we had this bullish move on the JPY itself. As you can see, as soon as that policy came out, that statement came out, boom, prices start breaking corners without even looking for any retracement, any step back, and continued pushing downwards. Right, this was a nice trade that we could have possibly got into, but unfortunately, guys, it happened at a point of time where I wasn't awake, which was like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. See, it says 3 around that time, so we weren't able to actually get into this for potential setup. And you know me, when I trade, I really don't like using the idea of buy limits or sell stops and whatnot without being able to, see how price reacts to that level. Right, but we did have this zone marked up, price came up and then started breaking downwards and kept on pushing. Alright, so you win some, you lose some, and that is part of trading. These are things that you can't help. But if we're looking closely, guys, what we could see, we were on an overall bullish trend. Maybe price may find some support at this area right here. Alright, because even though we did have that bullish news on the JPY, as you can see, the economy itself is still looking kind of gloom and doom. So this move could be short lasting. Alright, we could probably find some support at this area for continuation moving back upwards. Maybe right before that break happen around this area right here, we could see a retracement back into there. So yeah, actually we waiting to see price form some support and start moving back up from this area. Alright, if that is the case, then we could possibly look in for actual long setup once we see price breaks this area here, for a little more confirmation, and we could possibly get into a trade somewhere around here on the retest, back into this area at the initial break. Alright, so yeah, mark that up. AUD NZD. So as you see, price came into this high right here, this resistance area, multiple times, rejecting from it. We had a nice bearish rejection from here, right? And again, we came back into that area. So I'm unsure on this one. I'm not actually seeing any potential trades on this unless price actually pushes past this area right here, the support area, and continue moving downwards on some bearishness. If we look on the economic outlook, this week, what do we see? What do we have? Alright, so you have some AD retail sales, not really important, won't really affect the outcome of this. Yeah, we don't have any NZD news either for this week upcoming. So this is really a who's who sort of currency pair, right? So I won't actually be looking at this for any potential trade, even though I do have an alert here if price could cross this area and continue moving upwards, because we had some recent bullishness. Alright, but yeah, I probably won't be looking to trade anything on this particular pair. 80 USD, again USD shrugged, FOMC statement. Alright, possibly we could see some retracement back into this area to continue going short if that's the case. Look from the daily. Alright, so we could possibly find some strength right here to come back into this area right around here before the initial break. Going down to 1 hour, see this more clearer. Yeah, so if we could see some bullishness, maybe a next push past this area here for better setup to probably long this back into the area here before the initial fall, right? So this could be a possible trade. we do have some USD news. Fed Chair Powell testifies, so this would be a high impact news. Um, whatever Jeremy Powell says at this news event would actually have some volatility happen on the USD currency. Alright, and given the last statement that we had from last week, it may be overall hawkish, bullish, so we might have a quick retracement back and then price would continue to fall. So this is something we could potentially see. Once price comes back into this area, we could potentially get a setup for a sell. Alright, let's just mark that. GBP AD, I'm overall bearish on the AD itself. Yes, as you can see, price came into this high. Basically the same thing, right? We have these two areas was trading in between. More so some bullishness. Right, price continued up into this area. I mean, if we could possibly see a push past this area and a retest, might be interesting for actual potential setup. But, and this is why we use the daily sometimes, right? So as you can see, if we go back here, this is the area where price came into and rejected from, and potentially we could see that happening here again. Alright, from the technical standpoint, if we look, we do have a lot of GBP news, Bank of England minutes, this would be a high impact news, and interest rate decisions, always high impact, monetary policy summary as well. Alright, so these are high impact news right here, 1, 2, and 3. Right, vote cut and vote unchanged, they are important, but I won't say they do have as much volatility or as much impact on the currency pairs themselves. So yeah, interest rate decisions, something again that would actually affect these pairs, so I won't be looking at this too closely. Just mark this orange for now. CAD CHF, actually look to potentially get a trade here. Alright, could have gotten a trade here. Actually we did, right? This was a trade that I did send into the Telegram group. Price actually went up, hit that 2% target, and then came back down, hitting for a break even, a little bit above break even, right? Probably like 0.5% or something like that, right? Then high enough momentum to continue upwards. I see we came back into that zone twice after that, right? So 3 times total we came to that 2% area, and then it just tanked and broke down and ended right here. So if we're looking on the 4-hour, what can we see? Alright, so we did have this sort of a channel, right? The price was trading between, broke out. If we go to the 1 hour, might see this a lot more clearer. Alright, price broke out, came back, broke out, came into this support area, this resistance term support, and that is where we look to actually get into the trade. Hit it 3 times, then boom, we had this wick down and another wick down again. So I'm not actually looking at this pair for anything really. I don't see any real setups unless we could actually get a push away from this area, below this support area, and a continuation downwards. CAD JPY, same thing, right? Came into this daily support zone within an overall uptrend, so we could potentially see a little bit of a pullback from this area on market open, continuing back into right here or before the initial break, which would be somewhere around here, right? So we could potentially see price rise upwards. Alright, so if we look on the 4-hour, we closed pretty strongly into this support zone. Yeah, so we could potentially see some upside on this particular pair, probably back into this area or even somewhere right into here when that initial break happened. Alright, so this is something we could potentially see. and get into for a short setup depending. Alright, but I would like to actually see some retracement from this area on the daily support level, because I think it has a higher probability of happening. Alright, so yeah, short term wise, this is a possible trade that could happen, and I would actually monitor and look out for something like this. It's very possible that this itself, it could be a potential trade. CHF JPY, basically same thing, coming into a support zone here, daily support. A lot of these JPY pairs have like a lot of correlation to each other. They were overall bullish, and then we had a strong break to the downside. We could potentially see a continuation back up, or maybe even a further break below that daily support, which is rather wrong here for this pair. Alright, I won't actually jump in CHF JPY though. Right, we don't want to overexpose. One of the pairs that I'm actually watching right now is Euro JPY, and there's a pair that I'm actually in as well. Same story as AD JPY and the CAD JPY. It came into this daily support level. We do have some Euro news on Monday, which is President Lagarde's speech, which may potentially have some impact on the European itself. So I would actually be looking for a little bit of a pullback on this particular pair setup. Alright, I think this is something that has a high probability of happening, a pullback and back into this area. Alright, so this is something I'll be looking for. Let's go Euro AD to the upside, looking for a break from this area for possible continuation, moving up. Euro CAD, yeah, we had a sort of a weird pattern forming here. Maybe a break from the upside would actually be looking good for potential setups to continue on. But it depends. Again, we had some Euro news to come out on Monday, so depending on how that goes, we might see a break above this area for a continuation up. As you guys can see, as we continue moving on, a lot of these pairs have a lot of correlation to each other, right? So it's really hard to actually decide on which pair you want to jump into compared to another. Because of those correlations, it makes it a little bit more challenging, because it's either you risk 0.5% on one and another one for overall 1% risk, and they could both potentially play out in the same direction as you predicted, or something else could happen and they both get stopped down, right? One of the things to probably mitigate those losses, especially with correlating pairs, is either risking 0.5% on one, or choose one that's likely to play out a lot better than the other, right? So such as having a basic understanding of how one pair or one currency is performing compared to the other, would give you a better edge in the market, right? Especially when it comes to this, such as why I chose Euro JPY compared to choosing CHF JPY, CAD JPY, ADD JPY, right? The Euro, we have a lot more of a bullish bias currently, alright, and that being said, it has a higher probability of continuing upwards, even though these pairs do have some direct correlation with each other. Alright, so you can note that as a little note. Well, Euro GBP, we had a break above this area right here, pull back. Potentially, if you could see a break right above here again, would be possible for a short long setup, right? So something like this, potential trade that could actually happen. I could see this happening, right? Price pulls back into this area, even though the stop loss itself is a little tight. We could have some rejection once this is an established support area for a continuation upwards, maybe a 1 to 3%. This is something that could potentially happen. Alright, so I'm marking this as potential trade as well. Euro NZD, this is something I was looking forward to as well. Price push past this area of resistance, so what we'll be looking for right now is a pullback into that zone, and then a continuation moving back upwards with that euro bullishness a little bit more bullish than the NZD itself. Alright, so something that could potentially happen is this, looking for that pullback, for a continuation back onto these highs right around here, even lower right here. Alright, so yeah, potentially this is a good setup as well to possibly look at. Euro JPY, already spoke on this. Alright, I'll be actually looking to see some pullback into this zone and a continuation moving up. That'll be nice to see. Euro USD, again, love those USD pairs, pulled all the way downwards, so we're actually looking for some pullbacks, and we could actually get a potential pullback maybe somewhere around here or a little bit back closer into the zone. We could get a setup to continue with that bearish push downwards, right, with that USD strength. GBP CAD, no, too choppy. GBCHF, I was looking at this, but was also unsure because of how these wicks work, to potentially get into this. But as you can see, on this pair price, sorry, on this pair price came into that area, showed a couple of rejections from it, came deeper and started rejecting. We had a lot of bearish push from that area, which was a possible signal to actually enter for a sell setup. So if I were to see this around the time of when it did happen, I would actually look for a sell setup. Something like this would have been a potential setup for me. Right? As you see, this would have been a possible trade that would have played out very nicely. But again, you win some, you lose some. You can't win them all, guys, and that's just how the way things work, right? So yeah, with GBPCHF, am I looking for anything in particular? Maybe some support will be found here and a push back upwards into this area and a possible push back out of it, right? All that would depend on how we see things going, whether it happens earlier during the course of this week upcoming, or maybe around Thursday when we have all these important news events. It might be just what the GBP needs, the pound needs, to make that break above this area. GJ, this is a trade that we look to get into right around this area with price retested, continue moving downwards. However, did not help. Right, so as you see, price pushed somewhere into this area. It looks like we could potentially see a pushback upwards from this area, but again, I really count on that GBP strength being something we might see on display, just given the recent bearishness overall on it. So this really depends. We'll have to wait and see what happens on this pair itself, whether price could actually push from this area, find some support to continue back upwards into this zone, or if it pushes below and continues with that bearish trend. GPNCD, also another thing I was looking at, sort of like the Euro NZD as well, right? And this is another pair correlated, right? But look at it, right? It's a lot more choppy than how you would see the Euro NZD, right? You can see that clear bullish break. So you know, if we have a retest of this area, we have a higher probability of price continuing upwards. Unlike how GBP NCD looking, we have a lot of pullbacks, a lot of wicks leading out from this zone, coming back into that area. So it's a lot more unsure whether price will have enough momentum or strength to push past and continue upwards, probably filling those wicks. Alright, so I want to see what happens on this pair. I might enter it if it does come back into this zone for a possible buy, but probably with a lower percentage risk. GBPUSD, same story, looking for some pullbacks, probably somewhere into this area right here to continue with the bearishness. And as you can see, we had a fairly nice trend back downwards, right? So you could have possibly get into a sell here as well after this break here. Right, we could have possibly get into a sell here as well, if we were, to see this happening, right? So if we were to see this happening, just do a little playback for you guys. Alright, so, and overall I was bullish on the GBP USD, on the British pound, but as you see, while it was trending higher, we had multiple retests into this area. Price failed to actually pass it and start rejecting, coming a little lower, forming lower highs and such, right? And failing to overall, find enough momentum to continue upwards, right? So from this area, we have a price squeeze here, price pushed up, and if we look at it now, then, right? So you can see as price continued onwards, we had this break right here, right? So this was on when the FOMC new statement was made. From this area here, we could have possibly looked for a potential sell setup. I may have been a lot riskier, just because after this bearish break, we have no idea of knowing, well, if this is going to last or not, right? So it may have been a lot more of a higher risk setup, but as you can see, it would have played out pretty nicely because we had, when price came here, right, we had this indication of a resistance being formed, and price just continued, right, just continue moving downwards, continue, came back somewhere right here into the support zone, found that support, found that resistance, right, and continue pushing down and continue moving downwards, right? We would got 3% out of that, right? But you win some, you lose some. You're not able to win all. That's just not how it works. And price continue moving downwards, continue pushing down. So it's unfortunate, but it happens. You have to take the losers along with the winners. Let it humble you in the markets, and teach you to basically, not every trade you'll win, but when you do win the trades that you do, you hold on to those wins, right? USD card, we were overall bearish on this, alright, but as you see, some support was found, price failed to break any lower, started going up, we had a sort of a range right here, right, and we had a break to the upside, right, and this was one of the sweetest setups you could have possibly asked for, right? We had this break to the upside, a strong bullish close, price came back relatively close into that area, and guys, it's as simple as that. You enter, you pay stop right below the area, take profit at a reasonable position, 1 to 2 for the least, right? Or if you want to do like other people, you just put a trailing stop if you're up and you're able to monitor the trades as it goes along. You leave your TP unset and you just trail your stop. As price continues moving in profit, you just move your stop loss up and up and up, right? And this would have been one of the sweeter trades that you could possibly ask for a whole 8%, right? Yeah, guys, so from here we could possibly see price continue back downwards. If we're looking to actually go long again, we'll have to see a break above this area, a possible retest, and then a continuation moving upwards, right? So if we do have a break, and a retest somewhere along this area right here. That will give us a better a higher probability for price to continue moving upwards with USD CAD. Alright, CHF, same thing, looking for a pullback to potentially go up. Overall bearish on the CHF. USD JPY came to an all-time high right around this area. I rejected from it, pulled back. So this, no bueno, no potential trade here. Take that out. USD ZAR, it's another one. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. Because if we look right now, CAD, yeah, NZD CAD, overall bearish, looking for a further push down from this area to actually enter for any sell setups. NZD, USD, overall you can see a lot of these NZD pairs are very bearish, right? The NZD itself is bearish in terms of currency strength, so we could potentially see a pullback into this area right here and a continuation downwards. Right, you could probably see this as a double bot, find some support, price will continue upward back into this zone where a lot of sell stops, sell orders would be hit, and it would actually start back trending down. Alright, this one does have a higher probability of playing out because again we don't have any NZD news. Overall we are bearish, so if we do find a retracement here into this area, given the USD overall bullishness, hawkish environment of the USD itself, this trade has a high probability of actually playing out any direction you wanted to, which would be a sell setup. If we do have that retracement back into this area or maybe higher, I don't know, but right here would be an actual good position to look for sell setups. And that's it, guys. Alright, yeah, so that's it for the trading analysis. And what I wanted to mention basically about why a lot of traders fail in forex trading is really because of the mentality of how you approach it, right? So again, a lot of these news events may have looked like areas where you could basically get rich quick, right? You stack high in terms of the risk, and maybe it would have played out, everything would have been well, you would have been rolling in dough, right? The same thing goes for the opposite, right? The amount of risk that you put willing to is the amount that you're willing to lose, right? Potentially lose, especially when you're trading on certain platforms. There's a lot of widening of spreads right before that news event. Boom, spreads widen, you get stopped out, you lose all your money in your trading account, blow the account, and that's it. And that is no fault of the brokers, right? Because these are things that do happen when you are trading, especially high impactful news events. Spreads widen. This is something that you need to account for yourself. That being said, also when you do make your profits, make sure to hold on to them. This may feel sort of you know over simplistic because you're being told to hold on to your profits and also being told to risk money in order to make money, right? That's how trading works. The two have to maintain a sort of a balance when you're trading. So even though you have made your profits last week, right? Not this week that just passed, the week before that, we made around 17%. Right, this week was 7% loss for me. In the group, I believe it was around, I think like 3% or something, right? A lot of them will break even. We had some small winners resulting in like 1.5% in terms of total gain, and just ones that hit out and with spreads, um, or maybe a wick back below the entry level getting stopped out. That is something that happens, right? So we did lose. This was a losing week, right? But the thing is, we were able to mitigate those losses by actually managing our risk, how much we were risking once the trade reached in a potential area, whether it was above the entry zone. So we get some profit, You move your stop loss into break even. You're basically protecting yourself in case if price moves back from that area back downwards, right? One of those trades were the CAD, was it CAD CHF? Which one was it? Was it CAD CHF? I think it was the CAD CHF. Yes, right. So one of that was the CAD CHF. Again, what I said, when price came into that area right here, we entered a long setup or something like this, right? No, actually it was something like this, a little higher, something like this, right? And price came up and it hit that 2% area, and at that point I was like, all right, take it, move it into profit, right? Move your stop loss into profit, protect yourself. And so said, so done. We were able to do that. Price went back down, as you see around here, and you get stopped out. But the thing is, you get stopped out into profit, and therefore you don't incur any unnecessary losses. Alright, even if you didn't want to take your 2% at this area here, I was one of the persons that didn't want to take that 2%. Really saw that the trade may have trying to continue moving onwards, but at that point, with this pullback here, that was a possible, that was an indication to actually hop out, right? um, yeah, but stubbornness, and so we were able to actually mitigate those losses, right? Any unnecessary losses. And that's the thing with trading, you have to be able to um, figure out whether a trade is worth holding or not, right? Exiting early, don't be afraid to exit early. um, but as a new trader, that may be a little more tasking or a little bit more difficult to understand, because sometimes you'll exit out early out of panic or fear that the trader enter, maybe you start changing and start going back, not into the direction that you predicted it and that it was going into, right? And you got to ask yourself a few questions, whether that is because now the overall bias in the market has changed, right? The overall currency, whatever currency that you're trading, that bias has changed from being a positive to a negative or negative to positive, right? Or is it just a pullback, right? Is price just pulling back into deeper into the zone to find potential orders to continue moving upwards with that volatility, added momentum or whatever, right? So being new to trading, you have to be able to differentiate whether that is the case or maybe it's the latter, right? Where price is actually looking to get orders and whatnot, right, to continue its movement in the direction you predicted, or maybe some fundamental news event happened and the overall shift, right, in market sentiment just changed, such as for the USD, right? Overall, we were bearish on the USD pairs, but as you see with the fundamentals, what happened, right? Price just tanked and continued moving downwards in favor of the USD. The USD became the stronger currency within the markets, even though overall we were bearish on it at a point, right? So at the start of the week, we were overall bearish on the USD itself. But as you see, that quickly turned and price continued moving downwards, pushing with a news event and continued on. So these are some of the things that you need to know, right? And you need to be able to differentiate for yourself when you start trading, and that is what will really give you an edge in your trading strategy, right? Being able to exit out the market early is something good, right? It allows you to save on the risk, right? The amount that you're risking, and live to trade another day. So that being said, guys, this is the ending of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, you learned something from it. Subscribe so that you get notified on new postings. I will be posting my chart analysis every week. I'm trying to keep the consistency. Either Saturdays or Sundays, I will be posting my chart analysis, as well as other videos will be coming to the channel once I do find time to start creating more content. This is a finance channel as well, so subscribe, hit the like button if you found this informative. And see you guys in the next video, guys. Later.